This is not your real home, man. I feel like most of you guys should know that Allah is the only being that you need. The only being, not just that you need, but you need to only put your attention on, because your body is just a vehicle that God has given you as a loan. And this world is just a bus stop along the way from Allah to Allah. That's why when someone dies, we say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So there's this beautiful story, right? There's a mystic from Kufa. He went out on a journey to meet Abu Hussein for the first time. So then when the mystic, he went into Abu Hussein's home, he was so surprised. He was like, how come there is no furniture in your house? And then he asked him, he was like, how come you don't have furniture in your house? And then the master, he basically smiled and he was like, why didn't you bring the furniture with you? And the mystic, he was like, but I'm just traveling. Like I'm just coming here for a bit of time and then I'm leaving. And then he basically says, he's like, well, yes, my friend, but I am also a traveler. I'm coming to this world and I'm leaving it. This is why you shouldn't be putting all your hopes, all your desires, all your whatever you want. Don't be putting your attention on the things that are on the outside of life. Your attention should only be going to Allah. You understand, like, the only reason why most of you guys are suffering is because you're putting your attention on things other than Allah. And by the way, even if you're not a Muslim right now, that's okay. You know that there is only one creator that created everything. It's the law of one. This is basically like a universal law. So the moment that you take away your attention from this one creator, that's the moment that you start suffering. And then the moment that you put back your attention on this one creator, that's the moment that the suffering eases. The suffering stops, which is beautiful, man. So here it says, our real home is not one money can buy. Our real home is with Allah Himself. The story mirrors the words of the Muhammad Sallallahu the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu when he said, the worldly comforts are not for me. I am like a traveler who takes rest under a tree in the shade and then goes on his way. Even if you bought a house right now, if you bought a house and you're putting all you're like, I'm putting all my trust in this house, all my investment is in this house, that means nothing, because how can you put all your, like, this value that you have, this value of hope, you're just putting it on a house, literally a thing on matter, which in reality, by the way, quantum physics has revealed that matter is just 99.999% empty space, because the only reality is this one creator. But then you come and then you put all your attention on it. You see why most of you guys are suffering? You have jobs that you hate, you have bills that are suffocating you. There's a quote that says, man suffers when he takes what God has made for fun seriously. So all of these things that you're seeing on the outside of, like, in the world, in the dunya world, they're just here for fun. Don't be taking them seriously. The only thing you should be taken seriously is just Allah, and that's it. When we are born, the adhan, or call to prayer, is recited in our ears, but no prayer is performed. When we die, no adhan is recited, but a prayer is performed. This is because the adhan of your birth belongs to the prayer of your death, and that is how short life is. And that's so beautiful, man. So you're not a resident of your house, your country, or even your body. Even your body. You see, nowadays people are like, it's my body, my choice. Nah, habibi, it's never been your choice. It's always the choice of the creator. So stop thinking that even this body that you have right now, you're like, oh, I'm the owner of this body. You're not even the owner of this body. By the way, this should be like a law that empowers you, because now you know, it's like, well, if the only reality is Allah, the one creator, that means that everything else in here is fake. So then if something hurts you, understand that that thing is fake. That thing is not real. The only reality is Allah. So then who is Allah? Allah is the most merciful, which means Allah is never going to hurt you. And if you ever experience pain from the outside, understand that that pain has been caused by your own self, not even by Allah. Allah says that if you ever experience something that's bad in your life, it's because of your own self. And everything that's good in your life, it's because of Allah. Which is beautiful, because it's like, you know how they say darkness is just the absence of light? Well, suffering is just the absence of Allah. Suffering is just the absence of the Creator. And that's so beautiful, because now you should realize, it's like, well, hold on. So it's true that the moment I just put my attention on this creator, everything is done. This is why I'm like, I saw a video the other day. I'm pretty sure you guys know this man, but I'm not going to mention his name. He was like, as soon as I made my millions, I started suffering more because I lost my faith. And the reason why that happened is because the guy, He would, back when he was broke, he had more time to go and pray. He had more time to worship Allah. But then we started making more money. He stopped having time to go and worship Allah because the clients started taking more of his time. And I couldn't help but think, I'm like, are you serious? Like in every moment in whatever you're doing, you should always be putting your attention on Allah. So you're living in this world, you're basically living in the world, but at the same time, you're not in it. At the same time, the only attention you have is just on Allah, and that's it. And by the way, you just doing that gives you all the power back. Watch how much your work is going to start becoming beautiful. Watch how much your workouts are going to start becoming beautiful. Everything you do will turn into worship. And by the way, worship is just where are you putting your attention? So stop thinking, oh, I'm not putting my attention on, like, I'm not doing sujood on other things. That means I'm not worshiping other things. The fact that you're putting your attention on other things, it just means that you're worshiping these other things. That's why I'm like, why would you ever be worried? Why would you ever be angry? Why would you ever be sad? The only time you're becoming angry, worried, is because you're putting your attention on things other than Allah. And I always have to give a disclaimer. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet, he was worried not for worldly things. He was worried about the akhirah things. So this is completely different because he was still putting his attention only on Allah. So there's a beautiful quote here that says, die before you die, which means kill your attachments to the illusions of this life, because this life is just illusions, man. Your ego, your reputation, your pride, your material possessions, because the more you let go of this world, the higher you will rise. The more, listen, the more that you don't let go of this world, the more that you become dense, because this world by nature is matter. Matter is very dense. Like think of solid, liquid, and gas. This world is just mostly solid. So then when you're putting your attention on the solid, solid is very dense. And the more you put your attention to it, the more that you can't even ascend. That's why you'll notice that there is a quote, or there's a saying that says that when a sinner, when someone that's bad dies, the soul is going to be like, it's hard to take off the body because the soul just does not want to leave the body. Do you know why that is? It's because the body is so dense. You are so dense. But then the more you start putting your attention only on Allah, the more that you become less dense, and the more that the light starts flowing through you to the point that when you do die, it's going to become so easy. That's how you achieve an nafs al-mutma'inna. And nafs al-mutma'inna, it's content for a reason, because it's not dense. The light of Allah is passing through it. Why? Because it learned how to die before you die. So then when you do die, you'll just go out easily, as if like your death was so easy. Like you didn't even have to be suffering during death. Every soul is going to be tasting death. But it just depends which one's going to be suffering during that and which one's not going to be suffering during that. And you should keep that in mind, man. You should really keep that in mind. It is only when we kill our attachments to the mortal desires of the self that we are freed from anxiety around losing what is perishing. This world naturally is just perishing. You know the law of entropy? Entropy. So it basically says, it's like, look, so I have cucumbers, cucumbers sitting right next to me, right? If I leave these cucumbers for a whole year, this thing is just going to turn black, because there's a natural law in the universe that says, the law of entropy, that says that everything naturally goes towards chaos. So everything is going to be perishing. Everything is going to be perishing except the face of Allah. That's in the Quran, by the way. Which shows, shows that if you only put your attention on the things that perish, you are also going to perish. But if you put your attention on the one that's not going to perish, then you will also not perish. And so there's also a saying that says, because everything is perishing, that means you need to be cleansing. You need to be constantly cleansing. So it means like you don't just put your attention on Allah once and then you're like, oh, I'm done. How come the promise is not happening? How come the suffering is not going away? It's because you constantly have to renew. You constantly have to renew this attention. So it's almost like in every single moment, you're constantly becoming a Muslim once again. So in every moment, you're submitting your will to Allah once again. In every moment. Which is beautiful, by the way. This is actually a very beautiful thing. In essence, this is a voluntary death of illusion, where we are drawn to the light of the divine until all separation is extinguished. The more you align yourself with Allah, the more that you'll notice that even separation is going to go away. Do you know how powerful that is? This is literally the law of attraction times 1,000. Because if all separation now is gone, is extinguished because you're back to Allah, that means that there is no separation of time. So if you want something and you're like, oh, it's going to take 30 years. No, it's not going to take 30 years. Again, there is no separation. You're back to the one. So that because now you're back to the one, that's where you can do kun fayakun. Not you, Allah's gonna do it. So when you're aligned with the will of Allah, when the separation is extinguished, now you can just be like what do you want? Because now you'll also understand like everything here is perishable, everything is nothing, so everything is easy. And then when you go through the world with this mentality of everything is easy, like it's nothing, everything comes to you like it is easy, and in reality it's always been easy. So now at this point it's like just think of what you want. You're back to being in creator mode. This is some of the stuff that for some reason no one ever talks about, and it's like this is the most powerful things. This is just going to show you the power that the human being has. But the only time you'll be able to experience this beautiful power is when you align your will to the will of Allah. And the only way for you to do that is when you put your attention only on Allah. And so this beautiful book, it talks a lot about that. So this is the station of fana fillah. This is what fana is, annihilation. When you go past the ego, death before death. When even when someone would like, for example, if you look at me, Muhammad is gone. There was no Muhammad. It's just the will of Allah flowing through him. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ was. The Prophet ﷺ, it was just the will of Allah flowing through him. That's why they used to say he was like a walking Quran. Just literally like he was a ball of light, which is so beautiful. Or dissolving the separate self into the infinite ocean of God's love. Between the death of the ego and the death of the body is when we may truly experience life. You will never be able to experience life living through the ego. And all of humans are living life through the ego. Habibi, now I go on YouTube and I see a bunch of people making videos, and I'm like, they're making all these videos from the ego. And you'll see there's a lot of people that make videos also that get no views. There's a lot of people that do things that get no results. And it's because you're doing it from the ego. And it's like you'll still be able to get results from the ego, but you'll have to like upgrade this ego. That's why self-image, the moment that you upgrade your self-image, the moment that you start to make more money. You start to become more successful in life. But I say it's like you don't even need any of that. Go past that. Go through annihilation. Go past the ego. Get aligned with the will of Allah, and then you'll notice like everything that you've wanted, all the success has always been here. Because you've dissolved the separation. Because you're back with Allah. And then once you do that, that's how you truly experience life for what it truly is. However, it is important to remember that spiritual rebirth is not an event, it is a process. We are not called to reject the blessings of our worldly life, but rather, we're reminded to not become enslaved by our love. So Imam Ali, radiallahu anh, he says that detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you. And that is the most powerful state you can be in. Imagine that. Imagine you're so rich, and you're famous and rich, and you have all these possessions, but nothing owns you. To the point that if something happens where everything is burned, you're just watching, like, you're just enjoying actually. You're just like, this is beautiful, because I don't even need any of that. And that is a powerful state to be in. And by the way, I've seen TikTok videos where it's like, even the rich person sitting on a jet wishes that he was younger. Even the person with a car wishes that he can, like, he like looks at a plane, he's like, I want to go to a plane. Even the person that is like on a bike, he looks at the car, he's like, I want to have a bike. Even the person that can't walk, he's like, I wish I can walk. It just shows you it's like everybody is always going through suffering, whether you're rich or poor. But the only one that's truly living life for what it is, doesn't matter about the bank account that you have, the number in the bank account that you have, is the one that's detached from everything. Nothing is owning them. They own everything, but nothing is owning them. And that's a beautiful state to be in. How do you reach that state? The only time you can reach that state is when you dissolve the separation between you and Allah. How do you do that? When you keep your attention only on Allah. And that's a beautiful state to be in, man. When you experience that, that's what some people nowadays call the flow zone, even though this is way better than the flow zone. And this is what Islam came to do. It's not just you go and you fast and then you pray and that's it. You fast, you pray, you submit your will to Allah, but then you go through ihsan. Ihsan, man, it's not just like zakah, salah, siyam, and that's it. You have to go through ihsan. Because once you go through ihsan, this is the moment where you become a vessel of Allah's will. Now it's like you're moving through Allah's will. And that's how Allah is going to use you to accomplish whatever that needs to be accomplished based on your own strength and weaknesses, your body's strength and weaknesses. And that's where you'll notice, like, you'll go through the world, you'll live life in a way that's not linear. Things will happen, and you're just so confused on how things are just happening. But you're just flowing through the world, and then you'll notice that you reach a state in your life where you're like, I could have never been able to reach such a state, but this is the most perfect situation I'm in right now, the most perfect life I've created right now, because it's aligned with the will of Allah. So that's why I'm like, I get so confused. People are like, oh, but I want to, I'm making dua, but I don't know if that's the best for me. It's like, I want this, but I don't know if it's the best for me. I'm like, bro, what are you saying? Forget about all of that. Forget about even wanting. When you have everything, do you still want? So forget about all of that. Go to everything. What is everything? Allah, the infinite, the magnificent, the one that's running everything. So just put your attention on only Allah, and you'll notice it's like when you have everything, what more do you need? When you want nothing, that's when everything comes to you too. This is the best hack to do anything you want. Stop. You guys should just know that the moment you put your attention on Allah, that's where your whole life changes to the better. And that's where everything that actually suits you, that is best for you, truly the best for you, is going to start coming to you without you even having to do anything. And I believe when you truly do this, the work that you will be doing won't even feel like it's work. It'll feel so effortless. Why is it effortless? Because it's aligned with the will of Allah. Allah never does anything that uses up more energy than you need. Look at nature. There's a forest in my backyard, right? I'm looking at the trees, the way they're falling. They're falling in the most effortless way possible. Allah changes the seasons in the most effortless way possible. It happens all the time, and you don't even notice it. Allah moves clouds, and you don't even notice it. And it's so beautiful, man. You know what? This video is already 17 minutes, but you know what? I don't care. I actually want to continue because this is so beautiful. As a wise man once prayed to God, "Oh Allah, please do not allow death to reach me before I am annihilated." He understood that if we give everything to Allah that death can take, including ourselves, then once death arrives, there is no struggle or pain. We find lasting peace when we fully surrender to the journey of our return to the divine light of Allah that is waiting to embrace us in His mystery and mercy. This is what a nafs al-mutma'inna truly is, man. This is the nafs al-mutma'inna. There's a story here that says the faithful king. A king commissioned a council of spiritual sages to come up with a motto that could remind him to be humble and grateful during the highs of his life, while also inspiring patience and hope in times of sadness. After many nights of consultation, the wise men brought the king a ruby ring engraved with the words, "This too shall pass." The awareness of the impermanence of all earthly things and emotions gave the king hope that no matter how painful or difficult life became, the pain would not be forever. On the days when blessings drop blossoms everywhere and life seemed perfect, the king reminded the ring, so funny, ring and the king, the ring reminded the king to stay humble. Like when people say this too shall pass, and it's not just about the bad things, because usually now people just use that quote for bad things. Habibi, that's for everything, not just the bad things, everything. This too shall pass except the face of Allah. This is literally from the Quran. Everything is going to be destroyed except the face of Allah. Which is beautiful, man. This is actually so beautiful. This whole book is beautiful. If you are tired of pain, stop getting attached to things that pass away. What's the only thing that doesn't pass away? Allah. Allah is the only being that doesn't pass away. Let go of what is perishing and hold on to what is real and eternal. Allah. After all, everything that is mortal is by its very definition a veil before an immortal God. Trust that the spirit inside of you cannot be shattered. Only the mortal illusions of this world can be broken. Let the wildfires of divine decree burn every ounce of your ego until it is transformed into compost for the garden of faith that has been dying to come to life. It's beautiful, man. This is beautiful. The cloud does not blame nature for tearing it apart every time the earth's flowers and fruits long for rain. Gold does not curse the fire that purifies it. A mother does not grieve the loss of her placenta. God takes from us to give to us. True peace lies in never holding on to anything tighter than we hold on to God. This is so beautiful, man. This is actually so beautiful. Most of you guys are looking to make money, looking to live long, to have a healthy body, just live in peace. And you go put your attention on the things that die, the things that perish. When in reality, the shortcut has always been that once you just put your attention on the immortal, on the infinite, on the eternal, on Allah, that's when everything is just gonna come back into place. Everything will just fix itself by itself. You don't need to put energy and effort to fixing things yourself. Allah can do it all for you. It's just you've been standing in the way too much. And you've been putting your attention on things that mean nothing, things that always perish. This is the law of one. And the law of one states that there is La ilaha illallah. And it's such a beautiful law that this is what Islam came to, like, this is the message of Islam in all aspects of life. And this is one of them. La ilaha illallah. So anyway, I'm hoping this was helpful, man. If it was, Habibi, just let me know.